Welcome back, class. This video will discuss your final two vocabulary words for unit number 3 and also discuss the entrance ticket that you need to answer for the learning log coming up so that you can answer it as thoroughly and accurately as you can so you can get the most amount of points that you can. So the first word is positive space. Positive space is the intended space of the artwork, what the main image is that you're drawing and you're creating. So on the left is an interesting image because the black cat here is the positive space, whereas the white in the background is the negative space, which we're going to discuss in a minute. But over here on the right, the white is the positive space and the black is the negative space. Just to kind of play on the different colors and different layers so you can kind of perceive positive space just slightly differently. And then on the right here, you can really see all the positive space of this artwork, which is basically a replica of one of Van Gogh's paintings of this room here, of this couch and the floorboards and the doors and the windows. All of those things are the positive space. All the negative space, for example, the spaces in between the boards, the spaces in between the ridges of the walls, all that's the negative space. But there's a lot of positive space in that artwork and it really demands your attention and makes it pop out. So essentially you want to make sure to have more positive space than negative space. The negative space helps and adds to the artwork. You want to make sure that you have an even balance one way or the other of your positive and negative space. So since I'm talking so much about negative space, we should probably jump to that. Negative space is the space behind and around the positive space. So as the positive space is the what you're trying to create, the negative space is what's around it. And I thought it'd be fun to talk about that by showing these illusions of these faces here. So each one of these, you're either seeing the vase in the middle as the positive space, or you're seeing the two faces as the positive space. Whatever the intended space is, if it was the faces, they'd be the positive space and the white would be the negative space. But if the artist was intending to just create this vase, then the white would be the positive space and the black would be the negative space. So again, it's about the intent of the artist, what image was intended to be created and shown, and everything in and around it is the negative, the leftover empty space. All right. So now that I've confused you probably quite a bit, let's get into your question for today. So your question for today is, how does experimenting with positive and negative spaces in your relief help your design? So the main essential question is, why do artists experiment? But I want to focus on experimenting with just the positive and negative spaces. How does that help your design? Why would experimenting with that matter? And to discuss it even further, by practicing filling different areas and seeing what it would look like and if you did this, or what it would look like if you did that, by adding or taking away space, it can enhance your art, it can make it better, maybe it can make it look like you're doing too much. So playing around with the positive and negative space, it basically, the reason we experiment is to help figure out that balance. You want to experiment with it to figure out that perfect balance before you start assembling and gluing everything together. So that's why we definitely want to experiment with the positive and negative space. And also I just want to hit on the texture here. You can really see the texture of this design, this curvature design down here. And you can see how the smooth cardboard contrasts with the ridges underneath. That we discussed that, I believe, in lesson 2 last week. But anyway, that's the answer to this question. And I think, wrapping it up, we do have our final EQ here, which is the question that you'll be answering in the learning log coming up. Why do artists experiment? We've talked about experimenting with the positive and negative space just today. We've also talked about experimenting with the texture. And even just experimenting with the materials as well. And again, the reason we all experiment as artists is because we're trying to figure out, what the best possible artwork is that we can create. We practice with the materials so we can get familiar with the materials and what works and doesn't work with the materials. We practice with different designs and different aspects like texture, positive and negative space, to see what will enhance our artwork, what can overwhelm it, what might be underwhelming, what might not be enough. So experiment for all of these reasons, even for safety. Experimenting with materials can lead us to understand what the safest way to handle or to manipulate a material is. So all these reasons are reasons why we experiment, but ultimately we all do it for the end goal of creating an engaging artwork in the safest way possible and the most efficient way possible with all of those vocab words that we've talked about over the course of this unit. Right. So that's it for this video. Please make sure you complete your entrance ticket with 3 questions. Then after that, please visit me in the lesson 3 demonstration so you can learn how to finish and wrap up this unit and move on to our 4th and final unit in just a few days. All right, everyone. I will see you all soon, and please message me if you have any questions. Bye, guys.